Hello and welcome to Swiggy Growth Platter. In this edition, we come to you from Mumbai to talk about the iconic Brijwasi sweets, a brand that has been around since pre-independence India and over the last 80 years has received amazing consumer love. In fact, in this edition of Swiggy's Restaurant Awards, it was rated the best restaurant in the mithai category. And with us to talk about that, we have Anuj Goyal, who's at the helm of Brijwasi Sweets. Anuj, welcome to Swiggy Growth Platter series. It's exciting to have you here with us today. And before we start that, what I am really interested to know is about your own journey personally and how you decided to join the family business and take it to new heights.
Thank you, Arpit. It's a pleasure to be here. Really excited about this series. So for me, it was right from a very young age. From probably as young as the 8th standard, when I had it clear in my mind that what I want to do when I grow up, I want to definitely take on to my family business. There was a legacy which as growing up I was aware of, and I was like, this is definitely my first love, and I want to take this on. I worked for multiple brands in America, got my experience from there, some hospitality chains. Thereafter, I came down to Bombay. And in Mumbai, I worked with Red Bull, the energy drink. Learned a lot from that company. Thereafter, I joined my family business, and I had an entire task cut out for myself as to what we are, what does the brand stand for, and going forward, how do we want to take the brand forward.
So maybe let's take it from when you started your journey. And given this is a family business, was it very easy? Were you like boss from day one and everyone was keen to hear what you have to say and ready to follow what you say? How was your journey at the beginning?
Well, this was entirely different. When I stepped in May 2009 into the family business, yes, people knew me that he's the boss's kid. But it was far from, being accepted that easily. At that point of time, Brijwasi was not as unified or as uniform as it looks today.
Right.
So there was a very big task cut out for me. And time and again, I had to actually prove myself, even with my own family members, for them to realize that, okay, this is what he wants to do, which may be a little contradictory from what we've been following. So keeping the ethos in mind, but still pushing for newer things, pushing for reforms, pushing for growth trajectories in different avenues. Those kind of challenges were very, very big for me.
Interesting. So it wasn't so straightforward to say I've arrived and I'm now ready to just take it over. So very interesting. So just tell us maybe one or two incidences wherein you came up with an idea and you thought it was brilliant. But still you had to convince a lot of people to take it forward.
So interestingly, a lot of my friends, a lot of the colleagues, they feel कि तुम्हारा family business है, तुम गल्ले पे जाके बैठ जाओगे और पैसे की मशीन चालू हो जाएगी. But it's far from that. That is not how things were for me. Simple things, I told my father and my elder brother that, hey, our stores look different. At that point of time, we had 7 stores. And I was like, these stores don't look identical to each other. And from the world that I'm coming in, of the bigger brands like McDonald's and Subways and stuff, and you feel a sense of belonging. So I was like, this is the first thing that we need to change. And even the consumers are changing. You had people in their 30s who had started coming into a Brijwasi as compared to just the mom and dads and the 50 plus.
Right.
So with the change of audience, I realized that these kind of things were important. And when I approached my dad, he's like, everything is fine. It's been 68, 70 years. What do you want to change? Things are running fine. Don't fix a cycle that's not broken. And I was like, no, Dad, if you want to keep up with the changing times, we have to change these kind of things. Allow me to do it step by step. You'll see the difference. And yeah, there was a lot of back and forth, but eventually I got my way around, and I'm glad that I was allowed to do that.
Maybe if I can take you back in time for everyone who's tuning into this, talk a little bit about the history and the legacy of the brand, and then how did that come to be once you were the man in charge? How did you feel about it?
So, Brijwasi goes back to 1946, where my great-grandfather and grandfather, they started off in a small area of Bombay known as Kalba Devi, and that is where it began actually as a diner, a bhojnalaya. There was no concept of dedicated sweet shops or dessert shops. So it began as a diner. At the end of the meal, people were given a small mithai or a meetha to complete the meal. And over a period of time, that simple mithai or sweet became so popular that over a span of 2 to 3 years, the diner was actually in the back end, and people started visiting the store for the mithai. Ki aaj kya naya meetha hai? Because every day there was a different menu. And gradually the diner receded. We got converted into a full-fledged mithai and savory kind of a store. And then from there on, there was no looking back. And today, what you see, Brijwasi, it's more evolved. There is a lot of stuff that we've changed. Our menu, our offerings, it's become much different as compared to a simple mithai shop that we used to be of yesteryears.
I had no idea it started as a diner. That's an interesting one. So you've proven yourself. You're now at the helm. You're starting to run things. And then 2020, 21 and COVID hits. Must have been a extremely tough time, like it was for most of the restaurant industry. Talk a little bit about how you maneuvered through that.
So interestingly, let me put it like this. I played a game of poker. When the chips were down and everyone was like, we need to cut costs, you need to cut manpower, you need to get rid of all the extras. I was like, no, we're going to play aggressive. So I approached my family. I'm like, you know what, this is the time. We'll double down. We will revamp all our stores. We will recruit more manpower because there are going to be people who will require jobs, and I want to expand now. And they're looking at me like, COVID is there, things are shutting down, people are getting laid off, and what are you talking about? We began this massive exercise which took us about a year and a half of revamping all our stores, changing our packaging, changing all the touch points. We opened up a few more stores, which again was against
COVID.
Yes, but trust you me, I think it was the best decision, because from 2021, the kind of growth that the brand has seen, and a big thanks to Swiggy and the online players for that, because things changed. People started ordering online for the fear of visiting stores, for the fear of going out, and that brought in a massive confidence in the consumers that the same mithai which they walk into my store, or the same samosa which they get at my store, that same thing is going to be delivered to them through a Swiggy, right? So what's the difference?
There is this thinking though that the consumer preferences are changing. Will be good to just understand how you've sort of managed to stay true to the traditional roots of Brijwasi while also continuously adapting to consumer preferences, which could be people want more healthy stuff, sugar-free stuff. Like I was sharing with you my own example of how we keep ordering aloo pyaz kachori and mithai from Brijwasi Sweets. But how do you think about this?
So one thing I realized that, the consumer is very clear in what he or she expects from a brand. For me, when I looked around, I understood he wants mithai, he wants nasta, savories. He wants it nice, clean, hygienic, well prepared, with the same taste. Consistency of the taste is the biggest factor with the hygiene post-COVID. And if you can deliver this promise day in and out, religiously, you're going to win.
It'll be interesting to understand how you see online delivery as a medium as well. Again, given the heritage of the business and what the traditional business was. When did you guys decide to get onto the online delivery bandwagon?
I said, follow the consumer. Wherever the consumer is, Brijwasi has to be there. That was the thought process. And to date, it's the same thought process. So wherever you are, I follow you. Right? And coming along, in 2014-15, Swiggy came along, other brands came along, and then we happily joined the bandwagon. And again, for Swiggy, probably we were the first mithai wala to be onboarded in Bombay.
Yeah.
So that kick is still there with me. It's gonna stay. And I think it's been phenomenal. The kind of help, the kind of growth that I've experienced with online food ordering, and as I keep reading the newspapers on a daily basis, this segment is only becoming bigger.
When you see the business today, do you plan very differently for online versus offline? If there is somebody like you who's maybe taking over a business which has been around for a very, very long time? Should they think about online and offline in different ways together? What should be the right approach in your mind to make both businesses successful?
So see, it could vary from a brand to brand. I don't think one shoe fits all. But I definitely feel that online is the way to go forward. I've kept it simple. For me, Brijwasi is a virtual store on Swiggy. So you walk into a Brijwasi or you go on to Swiggy, it's the same thing. Identical 125, 150 products are available for you online at the convenience of your home or office. And the same products are available in the store as well. So there is convenience for you. You choose where you want to purchase.
One thing I'm really keen to understand from you is that because you've seen both sides of this equation, but I'm sure once you started in business, there must be many things that you learned which you would have felt, hey, I wish I was told or somebody told me that these are the things to also look out for when you are actually running a business. So tell us a bit about that.
So I think one of the biggest virtues is patience. Dealing with the manpower, dealing with the amount of time it takes to fructify things. You can plan everything. A business school teaches you plans, marketing, strategies. But the execution is something that you learn on the job, on the floor. And how do you manage your team members and motivate them and grow them and grow yourself with them? These kind of things were an absolute challenge. And sometimes even your authorities, the city in which you're operating, you have to understand the rules and regulations of that as well. And those are the kind of learnings that a book does not give you or the best of B schools don't give you.
So tell me, Anuj, have you had any outrageous demands or requests by any of your long-time customers?
So interestingly, we had a leading newspaper who wanted us to create a mammoth 6-foot modak for Ganpati celebrations across Bombay. And the brief was that this modak has to be transported to 10 different malls. For this, we actually tried and we succeeded in creating a 3.5 feet modak, which weighed a mammoth 150 kilos.
Crazy.
And that
Where did you make it?
So in our factory, we spent 15 days mastering it because every time you make the modak, suddenly it would collapse. So we figured the best minds came together and we were successful. 3.5 foot ka modak, 150 kilo being transported across Bombay. And on the 11th day, whichever was the last mall it went to, you had all the devotees and the mall ka people consuming that entire modak. So that was some phenomenal stuff that I could not believe that my team has created something like this.
So your chefs also need engineering talent to pull off these things.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Maybe talk a little bit about the future. I know when we were chatting earlier, you said after COVID, you don't do long-term plans. But if I can ask, now you have 10 outlets in Bombay. But so looking at next 2 years, 3 years, what is your vision?
The enthusiasm is only getting higher and higher. And I feel that, we want to open up a lot more stores across Bombay. My personal study says a brand needs 40 stores in Bombay to sufficiently cover Bombay, New Bombay and the Thane and the different nodules of this city. 40 is where I want to be, but let's see how the journey goes. In addition to that, online is something that I'm definitely sold on. And I want to be present in more online verticals, in the quick commerce verticals. We have flirted with them. We were briefly on Swiggy, Instamart and a couple of others. So that is something where I want to consolidate the brand presence on. And honestly, Bombay and India are such a big story. Right now, I'm not even looking at the fact of exports and going outside the country. The whole world, all the brands are coming to India. I don't think I need to leave the country and think elsewhere because the population, the consumption is right here. So I might as well just service that, and that will take care for years to come.
Great. Anu, it's been fascinating to hear your stories. I think the passion that you bring to your work is very, very visible when you talk about the business. Thank you so much for taking time out and talking to us about your own journey, about Brijwasi as a brand. I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to us right now would love this and love to hear about these stories. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.